Today's topic, all you need to know about passports. Hi, Melissa here at Ready to Go, where we discuss tips and resources to help you plan your very own travels and create unforgettable memories and experiences. Okay, so everyone knows that having a passport is required for international travel. And though different countries may have specific regulations regarding passports, generally the facts we'll discuss today are applicable all around the world. So, the 10 questions and facts we'll review today are first and foremost, aside from using a passport to go on vacation, what are other benefits of holding a passport? What type of personal information is in a passport? When was the first passport in the world issued? Very interesting, the history of passports. Is a passport sufficient to travel to any country in the world? What happens if your passport gets lost or stolen? What documents do I need to apply for a passport? How long must my passport be valid for when I travel? What happens if all the pages in my passport are full? How many passports can one person have, and are some countries' passports better than others? How do these rank? Now, stay tuned as at the very end, I will also show you what I use to store my passport safely for travel. Now, if you find this video interesting, please give it a big thumbs up. It really helps us out with the channel. And write up in the comments below any additional questions or facts you may have about passports, which can help out all of our fellow travelers. Now, before getting into our facts, I would just like to confirm that I am not here giving any type of legal advice or immigration advice or anything of the sort. The following are simply generally recognized facts about passports. Now, listen up, this is very important. Whenever you travel internationally, it is the traveler's sole responsibility to ensure that they validate the entry requirements for the country they are traveling to. Any information that's given to you by a travel agent or an airline employee is not legally binding. The onus and the responsibility for meeting the entry requirements are strictly on the traveler. Okay, let's go. So, aside from being able to go on vacation to different countries, what are some of the other benefits of holding a passport? Passports are the one tangible proof of your citizenship, and for this reason alone, I recommend that everyone hold one. Passports are the only identification document that is recognized internationally. So, for instance, if you're asked to provide an identification document when you're checking into a hotel or an event, or to even show proof of age when entering a bar in a foreign country, your passport is the document that will be recognized by everyone. Lesser known fact, cashing out at casinos. In the US, for example, for any jackpot that is over $1,200, they will ask you to provide ID. So if you're not a US resident, your passport is what you would show in order to be able to cash out your winnings. A passport is also required, obviously, in order to get a visa when you travel to a foreign country or to apply for a work permit when working abroad. If you get a job that involves international travel, the onus will be on you to ensure that you always have a valid passport. Number two, what type of personal information is in a passport? Passport data pages include your name, passport number, nationality, date and place of birth, your gender, and the passport's date of issue and expiry. Passports do not include your address. Number three, when was the first passport in the world issued? So the history of passports is quite interesting. The concept of a passport actually dates back to biblical times where governors of different countries or regions would grant travelers what they called safe passage between those regions. This is mentioned in the Bible's book of Nehemiah from about 450 BC. These were more sort of one-on-one passes that were granted to specific people and for specific purposes. It wasn't like back in the day, everyone was gallivanting for fun around the world. Now, the first modern forms of passports were issued by the United Kingdom in the year 1855. This passport was more of a single sheet document and it included the traveler's name. And as photos were not really yet a major thing back then, it included an actual physical description of the person traveling. Then in 1914, the UK began issuing what we now know as the more modern form of passports, which is the booklet. And by the year 1920, the League of Nations had adopted this booklet as the standard form of passport. The League of Nations was a grouping of 32 countries, which, fun fact, did not include the US. And this was formed following World War I in order to promote peace, sort of a precursor to the UN. So, this group of 32 countries agreed on the standard form of booklet passport so that people from their nations could travel freely among those 32 countries. Number 4, is a passport sufficient to travel to any country in the world? Well, short answer, no. Now, depending on what passport you hold, there are a certain number of countries that you can enter visa free and other countries where you may need to apply for a visa to enter. Now, for instance, if you hold a passport from the USA, this year in 2023, you can enter 186 countries visa free and an additional 40 countries where a visa is required. On the passport.org site, you can check for the passport of each country, what other countries you can enter visa-free and or where a visa is required. And they also indicate the number of days you can remain in the country, either visa-free or with a visa. For some of these, you have the links to the visa application. Now, please note that the amount of time it takes to be approved for a visa can vary greatly between different countries. Number 5, what happens if your passport gets lost or stolen? This is a very important one. If your passport is lost or stolen, you must report it immediately to the authorities as it poses a high risk of identity theft. Now, the authorities you need to advise are first and foremost the local police and then the passport authority of your country or the closest embassy. They will then invalidate your lost or stolen passport so that it can't be used fraudulently. And if required, you'll be issued a temporary passport, also called an emergency passport, for a one-way flight home. Now, when you get home, you will need to apply for a new passport. Number 6, what documents do I need to apply for a passport? Now, generally, to apply for a passport, you need documents supporting your identity and your citizenship. For example, to get a Canadian passport, if you're born in Canada, you'll need an original birth certificate and or additional documents such as a driver's license or medical insurance card. If you're an immigrant to Canada, you would need your official immigration documents. Now, each country has its own passport application requirements, so be sure to check for your country what is required to apply for a passport and how long it will take to receive one, as this can also vary greatly between countries. Number 7, for how long must my passport be valid when I travel? Let's all remember this term, the 6-month passport rule. Generally, passports must be valid for 6 months from the date of travel. In some countries, however, they require the passport to be valid for 6 months from the date you leave that country. So if you're within that 6-month range, this is an important term to verify. Now, some countries do have a 3-month rule, but generally the 6-month rule is the one to go by. Number 8, what happens if all the pages in my passport are full? Well, you simply cannot travel with a passport that does not have any blank visa pages. Some countries such as Canada, the US, and the UK require that you have at least one blank page in your passport, while other countries require that you have up to 6 blank pages. This is especially important to verify if you're traveling to multiple countries during your trip, as some of the pages may get stamped along the way. The airline may not let you board, and the destination country may not let you enter if you don't have the minimum required blank pages in your passport. It's that important. So remember, the onus is always on the traveler to make sure that your passport is valid for entry. Number 9, how many passports can one person have? Well, in theory, there's no real limit as to how many passports an individual can have. However, the citizenship laws of your country may have provisions about dual or multiple citizenship. Now, in the US, Canada, and the UK, multiple citizenship is permitted. There's no real limit. However, other countries do not allow their citizens to hold dual or multiple citizenships. And if you move to one of those countries, you would have to give up your other passports. In my case, I do have two passports, the Canadian passport and Italian passport, which in essence is a passport for the European Union, which currently includes 26 countries. Now, why is this important, you may ask? Well, that brings us to item number 10. Are some countries' passports better than others, and how do they rank? So, passports of the world are ranked based on their mobility score. That is, the number of countries you can enter with that passport. The Henley Passport Index is the most universally recognized as it uses data from the International Air Transport Authority, also known as IATA. The index includes 199 different passports and 227 different travel destinations. As geopolitical issues can fluctuate, this index is updated quarterly and it ranks these 199 passports based on the number of countries people can enter visa free. Now, currently, at the time of recording in November 2023, Singapore is number one, giving Singaporean citizens access to 193 countries visa free. The UK is in number 4 position with 189 countries. Canada and the US are in number 7 position with 186 countries. The lowest ranked passports are those from countries that are currently in more difficult geopolitical situations, such as North Korea, Syria, and Afghanistan. Now, this site is interesting as you can also compare different passports. In my case, I hold a Canadian and an Italian passport, and let's say I wanted to travel to Egypt. Well, with my Canadian passport, I need to apply for a visa before travel. Whereas if I travel there with my Italian passport, I can simply get a visa on arrival. So this is a really interesting index to look into, and I'll leave the link in the description below for your reference. Okay, so bonus time. What do I use to store my passport safely when I travel? Well, I use a passport holder such as this one. It's great because first and foremost, it's waterproof, which is very important. It also contains a lot of different storage compartments inside, which are great because not only can you hold your passports, but you also have spaces for emergency credit cards, currency, pens. So this format I've found throughout the years has been the most convenient one to carry around my passports. So you simply slip it in there and you are ready to go. I will put Amazon links in the description below for some passport holders that I recommend. So I hope you found this video helpful and informative. Now, to make sure you never miss out on any new content, please subscribe to the channel and absolutely click that notifications bell as well so that you're always ready to go.